why I was taking part in this or having this be done to me is it felt like I was some aspect of wildlife, like a bird out in the wild who had been tagged.
Well, welcome to, I guess, episode 1 of a new weekly show, Olympic Strange Days, where we will look into the mysteries that surround the Olympic Peninsula here in Washington State. Since this is the home base, I thought it would be only fitting, since I'm getting a lot of strange and unusual stories away from the typical Sasquatch topic that I usually explore, we usually explore with said documentaries, A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, Paranormal Bigfoot, and soon to be Voices in the Wilderness. Since I am hearing so many crazy, astounding stories, and we live in such incredible times, and this is such a beautiful area. Come on. I thought, well, let's just do a weekly show and see where it goes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to find the witnesses, put them on camera with us when they're willing to, and see where things go as far as a story. The ultimate goal, to actually put some puzzle pieces together that have been ruminating for the last 20 years looking into the supernatural. And then I get distracted with unusual rocks like this. Look at these chocolate hills. Out this way is where we're going to be headed next to interview our first witness, who goes by the name Alex. Alex is his real name, and Alex has agreed to meet us on camera and tell us the whole truth about living out here on the Olympic Peninsula and looking into and experiencing the UFO abduction experience at close and personal. We're going to actually go have a beer with Alex at a place I do a monthly show under the same name, Olympic Strange Days, the Anchor Tavern. I'm not an experiencer when it comes to abductions myself, so for me it's a whole new chapter as far as getting to know someone who is claiming that they have been taken. And given the fact that we're now in this kind of disclosure world, then it's pretty relevant. All right, Alex, thanks for meeting me here. I know we met over there at the bar we just had a drink at.
For sure.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do a lot of interviewing just because of the music in the background. It's a thing. You told me, since you've been coming to my live events I have there once a month, that you actually had an encounter or have a history with UFOs. So just kind of walk me through your origin story.
Yeah, no, totally. It all kind of came to a head. One day in 2018, I traveled to Denver. My dad traveled to Denver. We were dealing with my aunt who was passing away in hospice care from lung cancer. So my dad and I are in a Dunkin' Donuts. We're getting some coffee. And he just turns to me and he says, "You know I've been abducted by aliens, right?" And I'm like, "Shut the hell up, Dad. Like, what the?" And then that catalyzed what is essentially, for lack of a better term, a little coming out party between
Right.
me and my dad, where he told me his stuff from childhood, and then I'm like, well, I've been carrying like my own childhood experiences.
Really?
Yeah. And so I guess
So there was
the stuff runs in the
no
family.
prompting. It was just donuts.
He just straight-
He had that weighing down on him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think we were also thinking about death, family, memories, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And very rarely do we just get time. You know, he's dealing a lot with family issues, sisters. So it was just us, and he just tells me this, and that kind of blew my mind. So I was able to share with him. He shared with his experiences, and they happened in Anaheim, California, where we're from. For him, Sacramento, California, right before I was born. And then my experiences occurred in Ohio, and they
Okay.
occurred a few times throughout childhood, as well as, no, it was childhood. What had occurred with me is I would have these moments, these sensory moments of being kind of yanked up from, and it was usually my bed. Like it would just be nighttime, and I would get pulled up, and then I would experience lost time, and then end up back in my bed. And then the most vivid experience I had is I woke up or came to lucidity, and I had beings over me, and they appeared as, or they presented themselves as, I think, what people term tall blondes.
Okay, like the Nordics.
Yeah. And it's funny because, is it a human apparition? Sure, but there's like a really funny ethereal otherworldliness to it. The eyes they're not just blue eyes, they're just extremely crystalline, shimmery, jewel blue, just very blue eyes.
Yeah.
Very shimmery blonde hair. The size is a little exaggerated. They're a bit bigger than, just dudes. And I just didn't know anyone that was like that. So at 9 years old, to have this like evening experience where I'm immobilized on what is essentially maybe a table or just some form of bed, I'm being tended to, and then I panicked and I tried to leap up, and I was immobilized, so I couldn't, move, and then kind of lost consciousness, and then popped back in my room, a little bit disheveled. It was, it was extremely, it was wild. Throughout childhood, having this sensation of being pulled up, being removed, I would always feel this dread, like I knew it was about to happen, like when you're about to maybe puke or something, you're like, oh, here it comes. And I always knew when it was going to happen. And I could probably count on one hand the amount of times, maybe 5 to 7 times. I would have this sort of like being pulled up and out. It's hard to explain, but it really caused in me the inability to go on any sort of ride or attraction that had your stomach go up or down, like you have a drop or something like that. If I ever went on if we went to California and I went on Pirates of the Caribbean, and you dip down at that beginning because you're going around this underground complex. If that little dip down, I'm just like, no, like I could deal with anything, but I'm like, not doing that. No, you're not getting me. And it was really funny. It's just like this inexplicable, like,
Right.
I'm not going there.
I wanted to ask about your dad. We were joking off camera about how you'll never look at Dunkin' Donuts the same way again. Here your dad pulls you aside, is asking you this, well, kind of like setting you up to tell your story, really.
Yeah.
Did he have like a preconceived notion that you two were being taken? Did you get any clarification?
No, I think I surprised him with it, which is so funny. Like, you share a house, you share a life, father and son, nice, cool dude for sure, right? So he's not some aloof, distant, detached guy, but he had the inability to share his thing.
Yeah.
I've had the inability, I just didn't think to share my thing, and I think he was surprised by what I shared. He was using that as a moment to self-express, like,
Right.
you know, I have this aspect about me.
Yeah.
And it kind of blew my mind. And then further, you know, maybe it's like you mentioned, maybe it was the actual shape of the donut in the logo or something.
Right. Him staring down at this saucer shape, looking at you like, well, what do I got to lose?
No time like the present.
So was he shocked when you came forward? Like, did you talk to it?
Yeah, he was surprised.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Really?
And he's like, oh, that's why you wanted to. And then it made sense for him because we had built a split level home.
Yeah.
Well, my parents built a split level home. And I had this like lower kind of basement room, which you think would just, it wasn't a basement, but it was lower.
Yeah.
And you think that's everyone's dream. I have my own room and my own little apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And I had insisted, after this event, I had insisted on moving upstairs, and I made my sisters move into a room together so that I could have my own, I'm coming upstairs with you guys. You're not leaving me down there. I don't know. I might also draw a similar parallel with, you know, as you know, Toby, I'm like a gay dude, and there's a certain sort of, and I grew up Mormon, right? So those are not compatible.
Not really.
No, not at all. And so there's this funny, like, you put things in a box. You put things, there's even a song about it in the Book of Mormon musical, like, put your feelings in a box and, you know, and so you just are like, this is inexplicable. It's extremely visceral. It's a physical memory.
You had to come out of the closet twice.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We're having a coming out party, and my poor straight dad is just like,
right.
I'm like, now you know how it feels,
Right.
Dad.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
All right, so back to your initial experiences here. As far as like, we were talking about the inside of the craft, and you were talking about like a silvery, shimmery, it sounds like a saucer that you're talking about. Is that what you're picturing?
That's entirely possible. What I'm perceiving is this shimmery, iridescent kind of, it's there, but in the background, and not really, I couldn't look and go, oh, there's doodads and light boxes and, you know, command screens and shit like that. I mean, that's kind of that's the difficulty with this. But it was also ethereal, and I don't know how you'd recreate that unless you had some shimmery metallic fabric or something that was well lit from various sources.
I mean, we're having fun with this right now because you are not seemingly traumatized, but there's a lot of people where I would have to measure back and take my time to talk to them. It wouldn't be a fun experience to relive this.
No.
Is it a possibility that if you did something like a regression, that you would find out that maybe this isn't such a easy thing to talk about? Do you think about that?
I have thought about that because the things that have come to mind for me, I've been leery with doing I believe that I could perform a hypnosis session and regress back to these moments and get more of a totally clear-eyed view. I've tried to kind of go within, do my own kind of, I'm tiptoeing through meditative action. This gets a little like it doesn't quite make sense, but on some core higher self level, this does feel like it was pre-agreed, a-okay, consent from my higher self, but an annoyance with me because I'm like, well, could you tell the local me? Could you tell little Alex? Could I get a little pre-read? Like, come on, guys.
Right.
And then further, it did feel centered on, and this is funny because I'm 9, so I'm a child, but it did feel centered on fertility and DNA. Like DNA, my
Very
DNA.
common theme.
I think
for what
so.
we're talking about.
Yeah, and that was the sense I got. Like I'm wildlife in the wild, and I am being pulled in, just like a bird, a pigeon being tagged. The sense I got, like the so what, why I was taking part in this or having this be done to me, is it felt like I was some aspect of wildlife, like a bird out in the wild who had been tagged, being summoned back. The tag is being read or cataloged or, fussed with, and back I go into the wild. is the sense I got.
So like catch and release with like a blow dart.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And just like non-interventionist, trying to be as like non-whatever
Like
as
the Star
possible.
Trek Enterprise protocol, right?
Yeah, like Prime Directive.
Yeah, Prime Directive.
And I got the sense that what my awakening glimmer from this moment is that it wasn't supposed to happen. I had come to lucidity and was like, needs more anesthesia or whatever. I don't think they used anesthesia, but it was like, and another funny thing that I guess I would also mention is like there were two beings, but one was closer to me and the other was like a little in the background. Both nondescript, like blue eyes, blonde hair, the shimmering aspects that I described earlier, is that there was a vacantness to the face. So there was no malice, no, sinisterness, but there was also no like warm bedside manner either. It was just very like non-emotional, very like, which I wouldn't be bothered with as an adult, but as a child, you're like, am I okay? Where am I? What is happening? And there's just sort of a blankness to the face. So neither good nor bad, but when it's that blank and you're a child in weird circumstances, it is a little bit like, am I okay? Is this okay? Are we okay? Am I okay? What's going on? I'm freaking out. And I'm like, I don't know. On some higher soul level, I am like, I wonder why it was handled in this manner or why it happens in it's happening and you're a participant, but you don't know, but you do know. It's very funny. It's.
Do you feel like a victim at all?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. And I think victim is a state of mind. Because I know that this can be, and then my other thing with this is, it was too otherworldly to just be two dudes, like I'm being pulled across town or something. It was too ethereal, shimmery, otherworldly, but it was also not the traditional kind of bulbous-eyed, gray alien, big head thing. I think I would have processed it differently throughout childhood had that been my experience.
So we can walk down this way. You didn't have any experience with the Greys?
No.
Did your father?
Also no.
Okay.
His appeared, I might be butchering.
Because they seem to be like the welcoming party is the Greys to a degree.
And the predominant kind of experience I think everybody has.
Right.
And that's also that's the easiest way to be like, this being that we know of does not walk around Earth.
Right.
It's not a chimpanzee or a parrot or something. So that's very easy. I don't mean to say easy, but it's more straightforwardly like, oh, this is a UFO experience. And then with ours, it's just with my dad's experience. I mean, at risk of telling his story, and he's not here, and I hope I'm not butchering his details, but he has. An apparition, and she presented as brunette and humanoid, but also with like sort of like, I don't mean to say cartoonishly exaggerated features, but just like just looked too perfect.
Right.
There was like, would you hire a model for this?
Well, and this is another trope or theme, is that the people are usually hotter than hot, right? Like there's always like, well, this is very easy to get along with. This is a super hot brunette here. You know what I mean? Not a crazy looking scaled creature with,
Yeah. Were you put in by central casting? Like, what is this?
So that makes me automatically suspicious because of like the avatar phenomena. What do you think of the fact that these were avatars and they were actually something maybe more disconcerting underneath, like V?
Yeah, no, that's entirely possible. And who's even to say? And then my dad's second or another experience. I don't know if it's totally his second or if I know all of his experiences, but the other one he shared with me was that it was a blue humanoid.
Oh.
So a blue tinted totally blue skin, humanoid appearing.
There we go. Missing person right here.
Yikes.
You don't really have permission to tell other people's stories like your father's encounter. He hasn't really talked about it, but just in passing, Was there similarities between his encounter and yours, as though this was a purpose-driven lineage, like father and son, we need to study both kind of thing?
I do think it runs in the family. I don't think we're the only case of that either. I've done a little cursory poking into that, especially when my dad told me about his experiences in 2018. I think my father's was more like, I'm arriving to you on your premises to say hi.
Right.
And then mine, from what I recall, are you're coming over here to be, tagged like wildlife and back out you go.
Right.
It's like, so I do think that there is that kind of difference between ours. And then my dad didn't have blonde, blue eye, experiences. A blue humanoid, a brunette humanoid. Actually, the brunette led my dad to a spacecraft. There was a disc in the backyard. And then my dad's like, what is that? And she says, it's a barbecue. And then he looks and it's a barbecue, and then he lost time.
So
and then he was also 9.
This is really kind of proving the
60s.
Avatar concept in real time.
That's what I would take from it. It would make sense. I mean, if I were coming to I wouldn't say a lower life form, but a more, like if I were going to North Korea, I don't think I'd be like, look at the iPhone, everyone. Like, I think I would be contextually mindful of these subjects. And then I would kind of come in and be like, look, it's more palatable. It's like, there's no malice. We're not here to murder you. I doubt we're hard to mess with or murder. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I try to take from any of this. Like, that's why I don't go to the scared or fear. Or I try not to. I used to, I think, as a child, or I'd be like, well, I'm too weirded out to go there, and I'm not that anymore.
Like, do you have physical ramifications of this? Do you have scars? Do you have scoop marks? Do you have implants, anything like that? Have you?
I haven't had implants. I do have a scoop mark.
You do?
Yeah. It's small, and I have a hole in my neck, which is kind of funny. Like,
so where did that come from?
I've had it since birth. I had it's always been an oddity. So I don't know if I could totally chalk it up to that.
So you have,
I probably came out of a
but you didn't have
factory.
a surgery or like a tracheotomy or something happened in ER.
No.
You were born with it, or did
I
it
was
develop?
born with a flap, and then they cut the flap, and then there was a hole.
Oh.
So I've always wondered about that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's quite great for.
And the scoop mark, is that related to a story?
No.
Not that you know.
It's just there.
So we talked a lot about your experience as far as being able to retain or memorize anything that happened in the craft, if you feel it was a craft, this nightmare that you come to terms with that is like a physical experience that you and now your father have had. What about your mother? Is that something that's ever been addressed? Was it a family or a sibling?
That's what's funny. I got my father, I got me, and I have only sisters and a mother, and they've never really had anything supernatural occur to them. I think my older sister might have a proclivity towards mysticism or mediumship or something like that. Could be something she looks into. But no, it really is just a father-son thread, which is funny. And
yeah, because you hear so much about the mother's side, the matriarch of the family, having the psychic gifts. The daughter in turn has the psychic gifts.
Yeah.
And same with the experience. But you've straight out asked your mother, or was that an opportunity?
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah. And I think like she didn't shut me down or anything for sure. I do think it's just sort of like, oh, I don't get this experience, but okay, sounds good.
Looking at what's happening now, we're in the hot spot, or I guess the time period of looking into the drones and the plasmoids, which is this new term instead of orbs. What do you think ultimately is going on with the drones and the UFOs? Well, first of all, advertise your Reddit page so people know what you do in your spare time. This isn't just a talk you're having with me. You devoted a part of your personal life to this. Yeah. What are people saying on what's your Reddit site?
Well, it's a couple that we have Soul Nexus, which is where esoteric conversation around experiences of the Mandela effect and the paranormal all came together, and that grew into a large community. And then we also have the conspiracy forum that I help moderate.
And what are they saying about all this?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. And what's funny is you'll get a lot of attempted control and stifling and derailing of the conversation that is also attempted. So people are coming together to theorize.
Okay.
But then you have a bunch of people coming to shut it down, and you shut up and report. So we keep that at bay so that organic conversation can arise, but people are going a few different directions. Some are saying they're theorizing it's US tech, reverse engineered tech, and it's coming online. It's being kind of shown a little bit. Many are trying to push Project Bluebeam. I just don't think that the human collective consciousness is consenting to that. I think if there's going to be a big scary hologram, we're just not buying it. I think we've seen it a lot in media. Aliens are never, or hardly ever shown to be peaceful, kind. They show up and they're aggressive and they want to just plow over the earth.
So what do you want to get off your chest, Alex, as far as like the audience here that may be skeptical, may have deeper questions about your experience?
Yeah.
And it seems like the time to do it with everything happening right now.
For sure. I mean, it's like totally the news. And I'm also grateful for you for shoving a microphone in people's faces and sharing stories. Because I mean, the prevailing energy all this time has been, shut up, don't talk about it. You should be embarrassed.
Right.
No, it's silly. There's a reasonable. It's a weather balloon. Like, there's all these, quote unquote reasonable explanations to shut you up. And I think this is a moment of liberation, of disclosure, of just owning our own truths. Just a year and a half ago, I'd say, we had in Port Ludlow, on this one day, this coffee meetup corresponded with some national holiday, like World UFO Day or something. And so just imagine like 20 gray-haired lesbian ladies and their dogs, and they show up with like funny lights, and they put aluminum foil hats, and it was a good time. Nothing was malicious, but it was a fun, jokey time. And then I just used it as kind of an opportunity to like share I'm like, well, I'm kind of an experiencer. I'm like, if I'm going to come out, I might as well come out to a group that's already come out under a different context. And funny enough, I was like, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I'm like, maybe I'm going to lose a bunch of friends, but I had a lot of interest. I had people being nice and respectful, and then I had 2 or 3 other like lesbians be like, well, I saw these weird lights once, like 12 years ago, and and I'm like, oh my God, look at this. Like the energy 10 minutes prior to me sharing was like, what a fun joke. And then after I shared my thing, people were like, oh, it's kind of safe to share something, or I'll share my thing. So I think that's kind of the energy of the moment. And I think I'm a little nervous to share my experience because it's like, do I have photos and proof and all this stuff? Like, no, but I have my experience and my memories. And I think as we all come out of the cosmic closet, so to speak, and we compare notes and we take our individual jigsaw puzzle pieces, I've got 5 pieces, you've got 6, so-and-so's got 4, and we kind of smurge them together, I think the broader picture kind of opens up.
All right, Alex, I appreciate your time doing this with me. Like I said, I mean, you're interview number 1 for me. It's a little bit weird having a freaking camera point at you the whole time, but I got used to it. I hope you did too, and you're able to like naturally tell your story. For the people watching this, having a camera like this is totally unnatural. All you have to do is kind of push it to happen, and then hopefully you forget about it as the person holding the camera and the person having the camera pointed at him. So anyway, I appreciate it. And we have another show coming up too this month, third Wednesday in January, on abductees. Would you be okay if we did a part 2 on this?
Yeah. I mean, if this comes out in time, I would take that chair.
Okay.
I would chitty chat.
I think what we'll do is we'll release this before we actually do that. That way people can kind of meet you in the world of YouTube and online. and then we'll dig in deeper.
Wow, yeah, yeah. That would be fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You heard it here first. We're gonna make him do it.